That's the only qualification to be a Let's Player, is to graduate kindergarten.
And sometimes read.
Yeah. You don't even need to read. Just play video games. I think I played a bunch of Final Fantasy without ever really understanding the story until I was 14.
Oh, it was basically just like a pretty picture show for me for the longest time.
Yeah.
I played Dragon Quest when I was 2.
I believe there's one outside. We just sort of rock up.
I learned how to read faux Old English from Dragon Quest.
Well, welcome everybody to the 2017 Anime North Let's Play panel. We are your hosts. I go on the moniker of Winslet13 on YouTube, and I have done quite a few visual novel Let's Plays on top of, generic Nintendo and, like I said, Final Fantasy stuff.
When they're not getting removed.
Yeah, when they're not getting removed or DMCA'd or whatever.
All right, my channel is Zeromaster LP. I do a show called Zero Plays, which is me solo Let's Playing, just whatever the heck I want to. Like right now I'm doing Spider-Man for PS1. And I also have a show I do called Power Plays, which is my bread and butter on my channel. It's me and usually other guests play games together, and hilarity ensues. Usually with this guy, sometimes with my brother, who fortunately couldn't make it the rest of their passes. He was going to just come today and join us. And then my friends Corey and my friends on the Casey and Allie on the channel Priddle Plays. So that's what I do.
And you two lovely people over there.
Oh.
I'm Chris. I go by Chrisu on YouTube.
I'm Aki.
And our channel is called OHAC. And we do mostly mobile games and JRPGs. And
Mostly old school JRPGs.
yeah. We've got an ongoing Let's Play of Star Ocean, the second story.
Mhm.
And for mobile games, we do a lot of School Idol Festival.
Yeah. We're idle trash.
Idle trash. And we do everything as a pair, basically.
Yeah.
That's everything.
So potential foreplays of some weird dating sim?
I would do it.
I would do it too.
Our good friend Vegeta3986 actually starred as the tsundere guy in a BL game, so
Oh.
that might be a good one to play.
I don't know why you think
You're excited for that one, aren't you?
I don't know what gave you the idea that I'd be into a BL game.
I have no idea. I have no interest whatsoever.
None.
But yeah, actually, the first thing I sort of wanted to talk about is how did we get into Let's Playing? How did something as easy as playing video games sort of transcends on getting stuff onto the internet and having everybody either critique it or use it as background noise while they're studying.
Or working.
Yeah, and for me personally, I might as well start with myself since I'm bringing up the topic. It was really just something that I just liked as, a person. I just love video games, and I did a lot of improv. Yeah, well, some people don't like video games, It's like some people don't like anime. We don't talk about that here.
Some people don't like anime.
I feel like this is a pretty safe audience to assume.
Yes, and everyone loves video games. But I remember it was something that I used to do when I was a lot younger. Was I would hook up my dad's VHS camera to the TV, and I would play games and record it because I only watched cartoons. I didn't have a lot of TV shows, so the things that I like to do.
You recorded on analog?
Yeah, I did.
Backlog? Damn.
I have quite a backlog of.
You need to digitize that.
Have all those?
I did. Well, my dad has them. Yeah,
That is
I should do it sometime. I should release something.
That's funny because
That's
before these play became a thing, Nintendo Capri Sun had 20 years of backlog.
Yeah, I never put commentary to it. It was really just my 6-7-year-old self playing Final Fantasy VII. I know I recorded almost all of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, because it's I used to record Digimon off TV to watch later. So why wouldn't you record Final Fantasy VII to watch later?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just
Makes sense.
and that was my first memory of I would watch me play something later.
Like a post game.
What was I doing? And you can definitely tell, that's where I stopped to have a peanut butter jelly sandwich.
Coach Winslet 13.
Yeah,
Postmortem.
exactly.
What could you have done better?
But it's interesting because a lot of people Zero mentioned was that Nintendo Capri Sun, you would just record your games and it's kind of interesting that, yeah, now that we have this platform like the internet, it's like so accessible to do that. Like, you look at Twitch and YouTube in and of itself and like pro gaming circuits and stuff, there's millions of people that watch people playing video games, and that's really sweet. And it wasn't until, probably when I started, like, you know, when YouTube started up, I was just like, I caught people like Nintendo Capri Sun, and a guy named Logic. I don't know if he still makes Let's Plays. But yeah, I would watch these people and they would commentate, and that was the thing that got me onto the internet. I was like, I'm gonna record myself with my cool Dead or Alive 4 skills, and I'm gonna show the world how good I am in a fighting game. And I was not. And it turned out that my first Let's Play was a pointed camera at the TV because I had no idea how to like record component.
The days before capture cards.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the
before
thing.
all that
Like,
stuff.
this was like a decade. Like YouTube is almost a decade old now. Is the thing.
Yeah. Well, it came out in 2005, I think.
Something like that. Some people on YouTube. No, it must be more because some people on YouTube have had their 10-year anniversaries,
Jeez.
which is just insane.
Yeah, there's a guy over here with his hand up.
Let that sink in for a little while. If you want to.
I'm actually
tonight.
going to start, once after this con, I'm going to start working on my 10th anniversary game review.
Oh my god.
No joke.
Yeah.
So I guess we should just go and say, I assume everyone in here knows what a Let's Play is? Yeah.
Does
Do you
anybody-
guys know the differences between Let's Plays, long plays, walkthroughs, that kind of stuff?
There is terminology. That's right.
Yeah, there's terminology. So, Let's Play, obviously, just to put in layman's terms, is you record gameplay and you put commentary over while live or afterwards to make post-commentary, and that'd be a Let's Play. There's walkthroughs, which tend to be post-commentary because they like to focus on doing 100% runs of games.
Yeah.
Long plays, usually no commentary, it's all one stretch of one game. And then you've got stuff like speed runs, which is trying to get the fastest time. And then there's competitive stuff on Twitch too. So there's a lot of gaming variety these days. But I think the main thing is choosing where to start. Because I know a lot of people wonder where you start out. And really the first point to start out with is, why do you want to get into this, to doing gameplay videos? There's several different ways you can go about it. If your goal is, this looks kind of fun, then you're probably gonna have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I think it's really to just...
Yeah. If you're like, I'd like to try and get famous, yeah, you might go very far, but you might, just a heads up, you might quit after a while when you realize it might not be that easy.
Or you might not like it.
Yeah, you really might not.
You
Or
just
start
don't-
thinking I'm going to get really famous and find out that you just don't actually enjoy being like
Yeah. And then there's like, I play video games anyways, I just want to record me and my friend playing video games.
Exactly.
That's
And
pretty much
actually-
how we started. We were just like, we're doing this literally just for us. And if no one else watches it, and if the only views are like me and Chris who watching it at work,
Which is what we do.
Yeah.
We watch our own Let's because it's very
it's very entertaining.
pretty entertaining.
I mean, I like myself, so I'm going to enjoy watching it.
I mean, yeah, that's it too. Like, I actually, my coworkers have been watching it.
That's nice.
They're like, "What's your YouTube channel?" I'm like, "It's this, but just a heads up. There's over 2,000 videos, and some of them are not good."
They can't all be gold.
Yeah, they can't all be gold, right? So,
I think getting into Let's Play, the thing you kind of have to ask yourself is like, what kind of Let's Play videos do I like to watch?
yeah.
And then if you like a particular kind of Let's Play video, that's probably the kind of video you should be trying to make. So if there's like a particular dynamic that really like entertains you, then that's probably what you should be trying to create, something that you'd want to
Yeah.
watch yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Another piece of advice I think I give too is start off with something you're familiar with.
Definitely.
My first Let's Play was Mega Man X, and I can do that game blindfolded.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good idea for a video. Mega Man X, but you're blindfolded.
Oh
Actually, just
gosh.
kidding. That would be
I'm
miserable.
actually
You just
gonna
run
be-
into the wall for 3 hours.
Maybe I should do it blindfolded.
That would be good.
Then have the audience tell me where to jump.
Or like with your feet instead of your
Oh my
hands.
god.
Am I giving you really bad ideas now?
But yeah,
What?
guitar
That's a good
controller.
idea.
Even I can make that happen. I have the collection for PS2, so
Perfect.
There you go.
here we go. There's no face buttons though. I don't know. Rock Band drums. That's it.
There you
There's
go.
Rock Band drums.
Mega Man X with Rock Band drums and blindfolded.
I'm just trying to imagine now how to like jump dash with Rock Band drums. Usually what people, we're probably going to cover the most common questions right now. One of the people is like, what equipment do you use? And it's basically, you use what you got.
Yeah.
So in every setup, you're going to need a computer, a microphone, and something to capture with. So let's say you're just starting out, you can't afford a capture card, you can't afford anything fancy, can't afford like XSplit or Fraps or any of that stuff. I started simply with just using SNES 9X. I just recorded off a SNES 9X, and I was using a Rock Band microphone, which is not the best, but it's better than most microphone options. And that was like $10. So, and I had my computer, and that's how I did it. Eventually, as you go on, you'll want to do more complicated stuff, which if it's for PC, you can use Fraps or external capture cards to capture stuff, or for consoles.
When it comes to computer nowadays, the best way to record footage off your computer when it comes to any game is OBS. A lot of people use it and they think of it as a streaming service. It actually also records your screen. So, and it's completely free. It's an open broadcast, and you can modify it and add mods and other things that may add a little bit of flair to your Let's Plays and stuff like that. Yes, it does. Yeah, so you can record it pretty much your entire Let's Play in OBS because you can set the audio levels. I see there's people that use OBS, but yeah, no, you can set the audio level so you can actually make sure that you aren't speaking over the game or the game is outplaying you.
Yeah.
Or if you're like really behind the times, like you can use Audacity and
I use Audacity as well.
Yeah, it's free and it's really good for recording audio.
One other thing to mention about OBS is it's even good for like audio recordings, because the hardest thing for me is I have the HD PVR Rocket, which requires no computer to record. All you gotta do is put it in a memory stick and plug in your source and hit record. So that's how I record PC games without lag or anything like that. But recording the audio is different because I'm using a different source for audio, not my HDMI. So I use OBS because we actually played the Nexus Challenge for Heroes of the Storm, and I used OBS to record our audio. So it's also good for recording audio too. So, and then you can go on to consoles. Now, if you're like, I'm going to stay retro, you don't have to get an expensive capture card. The cheapest one that you can still get is Dazzle DVC 100, which you can get at any Best Buy or electronics store. They still have them on the shelves.
Yeah, they still have those.
And they restock them all the time.
And the next best thing would be like things like the Hopage. I used a Hopage for a really long time, and yeah, like they're over the counter. Like go to Best Buy, they're usually around 100, like 50 to 100 bucks.
Yeah, those are more so for like high definition games and stuff. You can record older games on them, but they're more fickle. Like for example, the Hopage does not like the N64 very much.
No.
So I have to do like special finagling to get it to work.
When it comes to retro games, we find it a lot easier to just emulate, even if we have the game.
Yeah, because then you can just use OBS or whatever your capture program
Yeah.
is of choice.
We don't use OBS, we have an alternative because OBS has too many buttons for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not emulating from my computer anymore, but I modded my Wii, so I can get a component signal from the Wii. So my capture card can do composite component and HDMI. So it's just it's a cleaner signal. So. And then for HD stuff, obviously you gotta go HD. There are some stipulations, like there is obviously the Hopog cards, there's the Elgato stuff, which is really good. A lot of those things though, you have to be worried about HDCP. So if you got a PS3, most capture cards come with an adapter for that, to use the component. But there's some stuff like PlayStation TV, for example, that you can't do that. It's got one port, it's copy protected, and you have to do a more dubious method of getting the capture. You want to talk about that for a second?
Oh yeah, we're getting into the super complex stuff. A lot of the times where, especially with the HDMI age, they're definitely hunkering down on the fact that they don't want you copying media, like things like movies and TV shows and stuff like that. So the best way is to run things through either what they call cleaners or splitters. And what it does is, it's the same thing that whenever you go to a Future Shop, or I guess there's no Future Shop, it's dead now, Best Buy, or like Radio Shack, it's not Radio Shack, it's called The Source now.
Rip.
I was a Radio Shack for like 10 years back.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about back when I was 14 playing Final Fantasy VII right now. So
Okay, that was, you know,
that was like,
not recent.
no, don't make me do that. That'll take forever.
I think the world needs more Final Fantasy VII.
Like when you go to the store, you see how they're able to like place the same movie or the same like game or whatever on all the screens there. It's the very similar concept as you buy a little box that you plug like the actual system into. So like you said, the PlayStation Vita TV, for example. And then it goes through the splitter and then splits the connection. And the good thing is it wipes the HC or HDCP. Thank you. Oh, well, thank you. It wipes it from it, and then you're allowed to capture it. And yeah, like I said, this is sort of like when you're really trying to do it. The PS4 and the Xbox One are relatively good. They actually have ways of switching that off so you can record your games without having to go through splitters like this. But some of that mid-range technology, like some of the later PS3s, even some of the later Xbox 360 Elites and stuff, and you never really have to worry about the older systems, even though some people, like even I've started doing it, is I run like the composite of the N64 through a composite to HDMI splitter so I can put it into my more recent TV. Though, warning and caution to that is some TVs have problems with that, and you'll get really weird frame rates, and the game will either be slow or just not feel right.
Yeah, if you're going from a converter to a capture card, you might as well turn your TV's game mode off, because game mode's good if you're going right into the TV, but it drops frames when you've got connection to a connection to a connection.
Yeah, and the final form of capturing stuff, which is where we have two experts over here, is capturing off their phone, because like they mentioned earlier, they play mobile games, and it's an interesting, I don't know how you guys do it.
It's actually really easy. It depends on which OS you're using.
Yeah.
iOS has its own program. I think it's actually just integrated into it.
Yeah, iOS is very easy to capture if you have a Mac computer as well. I'm really sorry, I meant to look up specifics ahead of time, but I didn't. And but I know that I think it's called Yosemite or something.
Oh, Mac OS Yosemite?
Yeah. So from there on.
I work for a tech company that does a bunch of Apple stuff, so.
Marvelous. Yeah. But there is a native software that Apple has that lets you record from your iPhone or your iPad.
And the main benefit to the Apple software is that it lets you record internal audio as well as the mic. Whereas we're on Android, and so we have to use a program called AZ Recorder, which unfortunately only records audio through the mic.
Yeah.
Which sounds a little funny, and you only have one audio track, and it's a little bit hard.
Yeah.
Actually, Mac is kind of where people are great when it comes to mobile, because you can just open up QuickTime.
Yes, that's what you do.
Record from phone.
Yeah.
An iPhone.
It's super simple.
Yeah, and you get really clean, beautiful audio. Whereas our videos, my phone's quite nice, and it has a nice mic, and it has nice speakers. So luckily, your audio sounds pretty good, honestly.
When I have to record iOS, I have to get the Lightning to HDMI adapter, which is copy protected. Put that through the converter that takes off the copy protection. So I'm holding my iPad with all these cables holding it down.
Yeah. There's a lot of plugging it in as you're playing.
The thing is, though, I would probably say that before you get into getting really complicated technology-wise, try to start with something simple. Like something you can either emulate it or you record it off.
If you can emulate a Super Nintendo or an NES game, and you're like, I am dang good at this game, do it.
And then do that first. Make sure you like it. Make sure that you're doing content that you feel good about, and then maybe invest in a capture card. Because I have a good friend who spent a lot of money on a really nice laptop and a lot of money on a really nice capture card. He has not recorded a single thing.
Yes.
So if you're going to
get into it before you invest in it.
I haven't talked to him. He'll probably get really defensive and insist that he's actually.
I think Android is easier because there's lots of open source recording softwares.
There is. The only problem is that you can't record internal audio without a root.
Yeah.
And even with a root, it's kind of janky. Some other things are that we have some really, really funny setups. Sometimes we do this thing. So the game we play, if you're not familiar with it, we play a lot of Love Live School Idol Festival, which is a gotcha component where you're drawing cards. So a lot of the times we do it where we have our screen, both of our phone screens in the video simultaneously. So we obviously, like, we're sitting next to each other, we don't want to have our mics picking up audio on 2 different devices, from 2 different devices. There'd be this weird, like, crazy echo effect, it'd be terrible. So sometimes we just don't record audio, and like Christy will have the game on his phone, and I'm using my phone to record our voice track, and then we'll put that together in our video editing program. It's hilarious. Everyone's like, "Wow, this is professional." And I'm like, "This was recorded on 2 phones in a living room with like a fridge screaming behind us. Like, it's not good."
It's a fairly simple solution. Just like, don't overwhelm yourself.
That's the thing. You don't need to overthink it. Like, you can literally just use 2 cell phones and make Let's Plays.
Yeah, and see, that's the simplicity of it. That's the thing that we really want to stress.
Yeah,
is
it
the
doesn't
fact
need to
that
be like Elgato capture cards and like $600 microphones.
Because
you
$40
watch
mobile mic and a software to like capture what you're doing, and
That's
just
all you need.
go for it.
So much of it is free too.
Like you watch, like some mostly all of you may know about the Game Grumps and Markiplier, and you know these people, and you see their setups, and you're just like,
They have money.
you know, yes, they have money, and to be just you think that that's the level that must be achieved for either success or whatever, and that's like the most frightening thing to a lot of people just out the gate. And trust me when I say, yes, I have recorded on top of, you know, like all types of things, from cords running from TV, like pissing off my parents to pissing myself off because of how much I've had to gerrymander everything together. But in the end,
Gerrymander?
Is that the word you meant to use?
Yeah, Jerry? I guess gerrymander. I'm putting the districts between my videos.
MacGyvering?
Yeah. That's really unconstitutional of you.
But you know, there is nothing better than the CDI at 1080p. I'm just gonna say that now.
The world is not being CDI at 1080p.
If you hold it down, I can do a duck walk. That's how we finished Wand of Gamelon. And we hooked up his working CDI to my HD up converter, and on your nice curved screen, we're like, this looks too nice.
It didn't deserve the HD treatment,
We add a filter.
but yeah, that's like I said, just going back to the point, is never be afraid to start something. And as Chris was saying, you know, give it a shot, see if you like it. If you don't,
That's okay.
That's okay, exactly. Like I've gone back and forth from making videos like for years and years and years, depending upon where my life is, and it reflects in, I feel, a good way for me personally, because to me these are video archives of my life.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like taking a video camera around a con, or taking it around at a wedding or something like that. These point at when I was playing this game, this event in my life was happening. And that's my reason for doing Let's Plays all the time.
Yeah, so it really brings it back to the whole like do it for yourself first kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like
you're not-
maybe you'll
you're
get
not having
famous.
fun, then like
What's the point? Yeah.
And probably the part that trips up people the most is video editing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's Play video editing is actually fairly simple, so there's
Yeah.
not a lot of tricks you need to know until you start saying, I want this screen to flip around and change colors and
It's
zoom.
only as complicated as you want it to be,
Yeah.
honestly. Like you can, as long as you just learn how to make cuts, that's it.
And then you say to edit in something, and somebody else is like, no, don't do it. So they quickly take it off the screen. No, put it back. No. So yeah.
But you can literally splice things together in something as free and as uncomplicated as Windows Movie Maker, and it will look
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. We use
It will look
Sony,
so fine.
We use Sony Vegas.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, Sony Vegas.
It's way
just
more
a-
complicated than we need it to be.
Yeah, it's a really good program, but you don't need it to be that complicated.
No.
It does more than we need it to
The
be.
easiest way to start is have some kind of timing. So I usually will record the audio first. I'm like, okay, if you're recording them separate, and then I'm like, 3, 2, 1, capture start, and then sometimes I'll go into the menu and just go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 up and down to make sure it's synced, and then that's when I'll start the video, because it's so much more easier once you get into the editing part, because otherwise you're like trying to figure out where this goes if you don't have any kind of timing, and at the start, I don't
Yeah, that's
think
my
there's any
life.
kind of timing.
We never ever do anything useful ahead of time.
No.
We really should, but
Yeah.
a weird little trick that I have is when we're recording for our Star Ocean Let's Play, which involves having an audio track and the game track. is I can actually hear the game through my mic slightly.
Yeah.
So I actually turn it up really loud, listen very closely for the game audio, and I match it up that way.
Yeah. The thing is,
Proving once again that with the stupidest setup, you can still make it work.
the thing to be careful about that too is it never 100% matches up. Like
Yeah.
later on, the audio will be later in one
Yeah.
part, and you're like, so you have to constantly make that change. But it's like, as long as it's close enough.
Yeah.
And the thing is, once the audio of our voices is adjusted to actually the correct level, you can't even hear the game.
No one blends together.
And no one's gonna know if the voices are just slightly off from where they were when we were actually recording them.
No.
And that particular thing usually comes from long recordings. Like if you're not doing breaks in between your parts, like how I record is every part that I upload to YouTube is I record for 15 minutes, I stop, get everything set, record the next part. Where some people do really long.
We do like
sets.
5-hour recording sessions.
Yeah, and that's
really
when
tired, and we don't know.
Because
what
we're
to say.
funnier at hour 4 than we are at hour 1.
Yeah.
I used to do it that way, but I found I was taking more time, like getting videos ready than just going through it. So now I do, when I'm doing my solo stuff, I do 2 half-hour sessions in a day. So that's 2 parts per session. So I've recorded 4 parts at the end of it. When I'm doing power plays, when it's with a group of people, I do hour to 2-hour sessions in one go. The reason I try to do half hours is because things can go wrong. With my capture card specifically, if the connection goes bad at any time, the entire file is corrupt.
Yeah.
And you can't use it. It's so annoying, but but it keeps me from not having to use a PC when I record. I just use my card. I can take my setup anywhere, so if I gotta go to somebody's place, it takes me 15 minutes to set up. So that's the price that you pay for convenience, I guess. But yeah, that's why I keep it to half an hour to an hour usually.
If we can backpedal for 1 second.
Yeah.
I remember that I had a very important, but I had a useful tip.
Super important tip.
Super important tip.
Tip of the night.
Pro tip for video editing. We started our channel recently, and I had no idea how to edit video whatsoever. I'm very good at Photoshop. I have a good time making our thumbnails. When it came to video editing, I was like, I have no idea what to do. I didn't even know how to. I didn't know how to do anything at all. And I had Sony Vegas, and I was like, this is so complicated. I'm frightened. There are so many tutorials on YouTube about how to make YouTube videos. So I recommend finding a video about how to use your software, like the most basic stuff, like whether you choose After Effects or you choose Movie Maker or whatever. And then from there, what I did was I'm like, okay, I need to know how to put a circle around this part of the screen from this moment from this moment. And you just type into YouTube, like, how to make a circle, Sony Vegas, and there were like 50 videos showing you exactly how.
No matter how specific you think your request is, almost certainly someone is doing a tutorial about that one specific thing.
And specific tutorials are what you should look for when you're trying to figure out how to do something. That's my tip.
One that's really useful, especially for Sony Vegas, is by default, the frame blending is on, and that just adds a bunch of information to your video that you don't need. It makes it look muddy, and it makes the file size bigger. So I usually say, if you're gonna use Sony Vegas, one of the first things you should learn is how to disable the resampling, because that'll save you tons of time.
When the first time I rendered a video, it was like 250 gigabytes in size. It was a 10-minute video.
It's like, wait, I can make my video look better.
They were
and be a smaller file size? Sign me up.
Yeah. So I sent a message to Winslet. I was like, can you help me? This doesn't fit on YouTube. Like, what did I do wrong? And he made me a video about how to fix it. And now it's perfect, but it's the initial learning experience every time, right?
You will make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to upload your mistakes to YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Because
so we can learn from them too.
Yeah, they're funny. Either be your commentary, your video mistakes, because later on down the line, you may be someone may comment about it, or even you will later on, 10 videos later, you're like, I want to apologize for the entire video being upside down for the whole time. But I thought that I was so funny.
Yeah.
That I think you guys would forget about it.
Yeah.
And I apologize that I wasn't funny.
Yeah.
But with that, with sort of the general questions that usually sort of get thrown our way. We wanted to open up the forum to you guys to ask us a couple of Let's Play questions that either pertains to our channels, pertains to maybe a little bit about hardware and stuff like that, whatever your fancy. So stick your hands up and I'll give you a point. Gentleman sitting with the legs crossed.
What are some of the Let's Players that you
Enjoy watching. I've actually hopped around quite a lot. I tend to like watch people in big spurts and then not watch their content for a while. I think his name is Super Genius, but he sort of spells it with like a J and extra I's and S's. He did a lot of Persona Let's Plays, and because Persona 5 came out, it gets you back into wanting to watch old Persona and stuff like that. So they sort of like one or two people, I just do a Google search for a game and I go like that. I'm just trying to think, someone constant that I've watched for years and years is Clement. He's done a bunch of Mega Man and the Great Clement and Sonic and all that type of stuff. He always cracks me up. But yeah, no, it's definitely hard for me to actually nowadays to pinpoint people I have to watch every single day or every single video that comes out. Because it's mostly what I use Let's Plays for is I use them as background noise while I'm doing other things, you know? Unless I'm really interested in it.
Shall we?
Yeah, you guys can answer the question.
We really like the Best Friends.
Yeah, that's kind of our first.
And we're also from Montreal, so.
We kind of modeled our initial goal was to be that, and we're that entertaining.
I've always loved playing video games, and I've always loved watching people play video games, but I was never really into Let's Plays until I watched the Best Friends play Final Fantasy X. And it was the first time I'd seen more than one person Let's Play, and I was like, oh, we could do this.
Yeah.
And then we did.
And then we did.
So we kind of credit sort of them with inspiring us to start doing this. And then on the Idol YouTube side, we also like Critical.
I love Critical.
Critical. What's up, everyone? This is Critical.
He's also really handsome.
He's very handsome.
He's so handsome.
He's like a really good-looking dude.
I mean,
shockingly.
I'm not gay or anything, but I would.
I am gay or anything.
I would romance that man.
For Idol Tubers, we really like Rin Senpai.
Yes.
Because he's so angry all the time.
Yes. He's angry and beautiful, which is my two favorite things.
Aaron Cerise.
Yeah. Who also got us into thinking we could do this too, because she's very, it's a very calm experience. A lot of Let's Players enjoy yelling and stuff, and that's great and funny too, but I like watching Let's Plays to feel
people are happy and positive and
yeah.
themselves.
So I was like, we could be that type of person, and hopefully we are.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else?
We like Nell a lot.
We like Nell a lot too. Another love life.
I like Oni Play. I think, is it Oni? Oni Plays. He's really weird but very funny.
Yeah.
I like the Best Friends as well, and if you haven't seen the Blood on the Sand playthrough, that's the one that I
Which one?
watch.
Which
Blood
one?
and Sand?
I think it was them? No, that was Chip Cheese, sorry. They do the Red Super as well.
The Best Friends Dark Souls Let's Play is everything
Yes.
I've ever wanted, because the comment section specifically is hellfire.
Oh,
I love their fisticuffs, their Friday Night fisticuffs.
Oh,
Yeah.
Especially when they don't know what the game is.
They have no idea what they're doing, and I relate to it because I never have any idea what I'm doing, and I could never play a Dark Souls game, so it's great.
I think for me, mostly I watch Friends now. I watch you. I've started watching you guys.
Aww. Thank you.
I watch my buddy Brad, who does Play Again, but he has a very distinctive voice, and he always likes to play horror games. He's like, "What's that over there?" Oh, it's nothing. He's like, that is freaking me out. I'm like, I also do a show with him on my channel called Terror Time, and he has the jankiest player I've ever seen. So if you want to watch somebody play horror games really janky, and I just quickly go, "What's over there?" Okay, we're good. He also gets pretty sour. His first Let's Play was Super Empire Strikes Back. I've never seen so much salt in my life, I would say, because that was great. So Play Again's one I watch. When she uploads, I watch my friend Casey and Emma. They do Priddle Plays, which is basically just two lesbians playing video games. Is essentially what it is.
That sounds amazing.
It is. It's so fun to watch, and I also have Casey on my channel from time to time. So I'm like, I'm gonna watch their stuff too. But like outside of Friends, I do watch on and off Nintendo Capri Sun and the Runaway Guys. The Runaway Guys playing Wheel of Fortune is the most entertaining thing I've ever seen.
Wheel of Fortune?
Does anybody know Chugga Conroy?
Like Indesky?
Chugga Conroy sucks at Wheel of Fortune, and it's so great. And when I was at Con Bravo last year, they did a live play of that through their game, throwing controllers. He still got it wrong, and they were like, and the one joke that Proton John does, he just says Chugga's real name, which is Emil. He just keeps yelling it. How do you not know? That was great to see live, by the way. But there's some other ones I watch, and. Critical's another one. Critical's the one, like, if I just want like a dumb laugh, because he says things like,
Timmy, you look like you've seen a sheep just put on a condom.
Yeah, he's kind of a sort of unorthodox Let's Player, because he does a lot of like single one like.
I would rather solve a Rubik's Cube with my bare nipples than jump over that chasm.
Yeah,
It's very specific.
he's amazing.
he spent 40 minutes on Snapchat trying to throw a lighter into a small like cup or something.
Oh, I saw that.
And I'm just like, I watched that whole thing and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I want to know what it's like being him.
Same.
There's another Let's Player that we both really like. I cannot remember her name, but she's like a 70 or 80-year-old woman who just plays Skyrim. And it's
Her name is Sherry or
I think it's something like that. She is amazing.
She calls all of her friends grandkids, and I want to be that.
It's so cute.
It's my dream.
She also like whenever she's like interacting and she's doing all her commentary, she's doing her commentary in character.
Yes, it's so wonderful.
It's so good.
Yeah.
All right, so other questions? Yeah.
Is there any program or system that you know that makes video make uploading easier?
Yes.
Yeah. You answered that question.
I'm really excited because it solved my super crazy problem of having like artisanally crafted pixel videos. I use Handbrake. Handbrake. The icon is like a pineapple, like a martini for some reason. There are a couple of tutorials on YouTube that tell you like what settings are best, but what I usually do is there's like a web optimize thing you can check. You can choose like your FPS and like 1080 or 720 or whatever, and then you can also change the sound as well. So like, for example, when we're recording on our phone, often it ends up being in stereo, but like flipped, which is weird. So like one time, I made a video where my screen was on the left and Chris's screen was on the right, but for some reason the audio sounded like Christy was off, so it was very confusing. So now I just use Handbrake to make everything mono, and it just improves life, for me personally. And then there's like a slider where you can either go like placebo size, so it doesn't change the file size a lot, or you can slide it down to make it smaller and smaller, and I think if you go too far, the quality starts to suffer, but honestly, I went from like that 250 gigabyte video ended up being like 400 megabytes, and it looked the same because it's witchcraft. So I recommend, I don't know any other ones, there might be more, but I like Handbrake.
There's two methods I use, and one of them is simple and easy, but you're not going to get the best quality, which is I just pop everything into any video converter. And that's what it's called, any video converter. Not to be confused with them telling you to use anything. It can do a lot of formats. It actually has a YouTube out format, which formats it to MP4 using the H.264 codec, which YouTube recommends for best quality. And then the more complicated way with better quality and lower sizes is scripting videos using Zarks GUI. So this is a more complicated program, and if you don't know how to script a video, that's something where you may have to take some time to learn how to do it, because it's not easy. But Zarks GUI is the best. It can turn it's turned a 10 gigabyte video down to about 200 megs for me without quality loss. It's called Zarks GUI, so, and it's, you have to script the videos first, which basically means you get a scripter program, you take your finished video, you put it in that, it pops it as a text file, and you put that in Zarks GUI, and it turns the text file into a video.
No,
it's weird. I don't understand like the weird science magic that goes into it, but it works. and it's nuts. So that's a more complicated way. I don't expect everybody to want to go do that. I still don't fully understand it, and I've been doing this for like 10 years, so.
Yeah.
And I just use Handbrake just like Aki does. It's definitely the easiest one to use like when you're starting out.
And it's quick. It's quite quick as well.
Yeah, that's actually another good bonus too.
You have a question?
Yeah.
So I know this is a personal problem I have, but thumbnails. Is there like a template that you use to stay consistent?
Okay, so we're
Like a
gonna
brand new one every time?
we're gonna talk about finding your aesthetic.
Yeah.
That's the most important.
First, you need to think about your aesthetic.
No, I mean, I guess it kind of depends on what you're going for, like what you want your thumbnail to look like, but you do run thumbnails.
Yeah, so I know Winslet does this differently, but I love Photoshop. So I use a template that I've made myself, and I will save it in a PSD called like Bang Dream thumbnail, Star Ocean thumbnail, template, or whatever. And then every single time I make a new video, I will edit the template and then save it as a JPEG. Because I think it looks really nice, especially if you're doing a series, to have it nice and consistent. And I'll do things like I'll change the image, like maybe I'll do a different character every time. For our Star Ocean Let's Play, I keep the background exactly the same, and I only change the episode number and the title. And I think it looks good.
It looks amazing.
Thank you. But then when it comes to our Love Live stuff, we do like event things. It's a mobile game, so if you're not familiar, there's two new events every month. So there's different art, different characters, and I have like two versions. I have a version where the text is on the left and the image is on the right, and then vice versa. So depending on what I'm doing, I'll just like choose one of the templates and go from there. So basically, like my advice would be to
take the time to make templates.
Take your time making something you really love, but like you love enough. At the beginning, and then every time you upload a video, you'll save yourself a ton of time by having a template. And I change things as I go. Like every single time I make a new thumbnail, I will resave the template because I like to think that every time I do it, I make it a little bit better. Maybe I change the font size a little. Maybe I move something over a little bit more. So I just keep kind of like refreshing my template every time. That's what I do. I know that you have a different method.
How I particularly like to make my thumbnails, and I guess this is my aesthetic, is I usually like to find and use clips of the video as sort of part of my thumbnail. So something that may strike out to me that works with the title that I may give it, or like something very important in the video that happens. Clay was saying in my Ace Ventura for PC CD-ROM Let's Play, there was this great shot. I'm not even going to give you context because it's better this way. Ace Ventura is blowing into an octopus's mouth and it inflates, and it's because it's based off the cartoon. It looks so weird, and I'm just like, see, that's the thing. You have like Ace Ventura, the CD-ROM game Part 2, and they see this image of Ace blowing into an octopus.
That's
you're like,
and
that, it gets you to catch your eye and do it.
You don't worry about it.
Like I said,
There's no context.
No context.
Don't worry about it.
You can go watch the video yourself, Sarah.
Please remember to like and subscribe.
But I usually like to just sort of do like, I usually try and find the logo of the game, and then something that sort of fits. Like when I was doing Paper Mario, I used the block texture as sort of like a side thing, then use a shot from the game, and then use Mario font for like my parts and all that type of stuff. And yeah, I want to create something that quickly catches someone's eye because they're looking for the game content. So when the game itself is in the thumbnail, they seem to have a relatively good click.
Font is your friend. Speaking about using like Super Mario font, you can very easily find like unofficial free fonts that are modeled after various games. You can find like Mario font, you can find like Harry Potter font, the Lord of the Rings font. You can download all of this for free. It's like debatable whether or not you're actually allowed to use them with copyright on the thing, but you can look that up yourself. But I definitely recommend choosing a font and like maybe a background or something that says you.
Yeah.
Like we have, no matter what game we're playing, we always have the same font kind of laid out the same way. So it kind of like, you know, people talk about making your brand. It's a little bit like that. So a font is a really powerful way to do that, I think. You know, yeah. You can see a font out in the wild and be like, oh, that's Apple, or oh, that's American Apparel, or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, that's OHEC.
Yeah.
Oh, that's OHEC. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I really recommend thinking hard about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just little things like that. So then when someone maybe who watched you a while ago, and you know maybe they haven't thought about you in a while, they're wandering around YouTube and they're like, oh, that looks familiar. Maybe I know that person. And they click through and they're like, oh yeah, this Let's Play, I really like them. I forgot to subscribe last time, maybe I'll do it now, kind of thing.
Yeah, so one thing. And another thing, and just going back to the Game Grumps for a sec, those little tiny chibi heads, everybody knows those little chibi heads.
If you can't draw, if you can commission someone to make like a little character for you to put in your thumbnails, super good idea.
Yeah, like because it just goes back, like you said, to branding.
Yeah, Zero does that. You got little characters.
Yeah, unfortunately I don't think he's here now, but my artist friend Jeff, who is also playing Persona 5 with me on my channel, I commissioned him to draw the main people who I'm doing with the channel. So, and he's really good. He's never met you, and he captured you perfectly. Sure, this is anime titties, and you're holding a code 0. So I have those little icons, and then you know who's in the video on the thumbnail. What I've been doing with thumbnails recently is, what I have been doing is I've been taking like simplified wallpapers and then adding my font on there. But I'm moving more over to a template that I made, like a little like star bursting template where I just put the logo in it and then I put all the people underneath it and the part number. Because that's probably more aesthetically pleasing than here's this background with all these Nintendo characters. Oh, and your guys are on there too. It's probably hard to look at. So I started moving away from that. Just keep it simple is basically what it is. Put as much stuff as you need to put on it, not as much stuff that you have to put on it.
Something I learned really quickly is that YouTube recommends that you upload a very, very, very large thumbnail because people can watch it on their TV screens, right? So the very first thumbnail I ever made, I don't really like it anymore because the font is too small, it's too busy, there's too much information on it because I didn't realize how tiny it will look in some formats, like on some screens.
As long as you make it 720p or bigger, you're good.
Yeah, but like it gets shrunk down to like this big.
Imagine people looking at it on their phone.
Yeah, right? So I'm like, I usually use like 100-point font basically, and I only write like 3 lines maximum of text because it gets shrunk down so much that people can't read it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but again, it's trial and error, right?
Yeah. So we've got about 10 minutes left, so we got maybe
there was a
few more
green out
questions.
there.
This guy's got a question?
Hey, I was actually wondering if I could plug myself. I'm a commissioned artist, and I do stuff for Twitch and YouTube.
Oh,
there you go.
Well, I'll give you my contact information because Jeff has been busy and he's given me the okay to get more art from someone else. So.
Oh.
There you go.
He's allowed you to commission other artists?
Well, he just doesn't have time right now. So, and he isn't cheap. So I'll say that. So, I will come up when we're done and we'll get your information.
And if anyone needs an artist, we have an artist in need of employment in the back.
Yeah. Easy way for, if you're an artist, to get your stuff out there. Let's Players, they make videos all the time. It's all going to get seen.
Yeah.
And somebody else had a question back there.
Yeah.
So I have all the equipment and stuff. I've been doing this quite a while. My problem is that recently I really found that decided to be a way to bring a dog into the situation. We won't stop doing this. So I know you said like you can work through like noise and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean like at some point someone's gonna be like, do you know there's a dog in the background?
Yeah.
I mean, you have 2 options. You
Yeah.
either like try to find a setup where you can avoid having the dog noise or lean into it.
Yes.
Or
Just
make
like,
it part of
hey,
the
there's a
video.
dog.
Yeah.
We have an episode of playing Zelda: The Ancient Stone Tablets where my buddy's dog does this like big growl. It sounds like a metal band one. I'm just like, what was that? We're keeping that in. And one of the hardest things is I've just recently gotten a backwards compatible PS3 that plays PS2 games.
Nice.
Those things are noisy.
Yeah.
Like, I have my microphone up to here when I record. The PS3 is like at least quite a few feet away from me. It still picks it up. So what I have to do is In Audacity, you can actually select the sections you want to take out of background noise, and then just select that, do the whole audio, and then do the whole thing without audio. Now you're going to get a drop in quality a little bit, but as long as you don't make it intense, you can do it.
It's the punctuation noise, right? Because like you can't reduce a dog bark. It's just gonna be
It's
there.
like having a person sitting next
You
to
could, what do you edit with, Sony Vegas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Magic's Vegas.
Oh, Magic's Vegas, whatever. I'm using Sony Vegas Pro 13, so it's the same thing. There's a audio track thing you can adjust. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I'm trying to, one of the 3 audio tracks, there's like a bar you can change. When I record, for example, when I was recording Heroes of the Storm with him, my computer sounds like it's taking flight. And I can only do so much background noise removal on that. So I only did as much as I thought was necessary. I also, you can hear my keyboard, because my keyboard's clacking and stuff, and my mouse is clicking. So what I set it to is I set the, I can't remember what it's called, a tag, or it's one of the 3 effects on there, and I'm trying to remember it right now off the top of my head, but there's one of them where there's a slider, it's max on infinite.
Is it the one where you mute the entire audio and then next to it there's other options?
Well, yeah, something like that. There's one slider, and it says infinite by default. If you bring that up to, say, -30 dB, it will cut out anything that is below where a certain decibel is. So for example, because my mic is usually like this, or like this, it knows that the primary noise is my audio, or in his case, his audio. So, in say, for example, I can't edit out him clicking on his keyboard either. So, whenever there was, I would find a space in my audio in Vegas and be like, okay, let me listen to this, play, turn on the effect, put the slider up until it disappears, and then I did that. Now, you gotta be careful with that, because if you like, say for example, it's good for taking up breaths, it's good for taking up clicking and all that stuff, but if you say you start talking loudly and then go quietly, it can sometimes cut off part of your voice, so you just gotta have to play around with it a little bit. You can find a tutorial on how to do it on Vegas too, it's super easy to fix.
She said OBS.
Just out of curiosity, what type of microphone do you use?
Audio thing like that.
Oh, so he's using a nice microphone.
Oh, okay. So you're using a nice mic. Like I use a condenser mic, and you can sort of. How I have it is I have it only record directly in front of it. So when you turn down the volume, like you said, lower the decibel level down to 30, and then all the audio, the only thing that's coming through is in that little pigeonhole in front of the mic. Then it really reduces all the noise around you and really centers on the voice. Though you have to have the mic really close to you, and that's when you need maybe a pop filter and other things. So if you have that type of stuff, you're on the right track. You just, unfortunately, yeah, you're gonna feel like you're recording very, very lightly, but at the same time, it will hopefully, yeah.
If it's still,
just shout.
if after
It's gonna be a
all,
let's shout.
if after all that it's still not working, you can, if you have the cash, go out and get a, I forget what they call them, but a back wall.
Like
to
a
your
like a
microphone.
sound room.
They're expensive, but it cuts out all the audio coming from there and tries to keep the audio around the microphone.
Build yourself a little tent. Did you say they're called sound walls?
I think it's called a sound wall, yeah.
It's like a portable sound room.
And
There's
I
probably a better word
mean,
for
there is
it.
a cheap way to make them. If you got a shoebox and a bit of like packing foam, you can just put a shoebox around your mic. It looks weird, but
No one's gonna see it, so who
No one's gonna
cares?
see it.
yeah, and that will make your mic focus on you and not the background noise. It's still gonna happen regardless. If my cat rubs against my microphone sometimes and meows right into it, so I keep that in because I think it's funny. But it's
Yeah.
if you want.
Sometimes it's just stuff like that, like failing any technical stuff. If you still sometimes hear the dog, just
Lean
make a
into
note of
it.
it, lean into it, and be like, hey, so sometimes you're gonna hear my dog, and that's just how life is, so sorry about it.
For a long time, I was trying really hard to cut a lot of stuff out, like the key tabs or
We tend to eat while we...
my boyfriend who likes to shout in the background sometimes when his game goes bad. Because we were living in a studio apartment and trying to record, so it's hilarious. Like there's sirens going by and everything all the time. And we also like to eat while we're gaming, so sometimes you can hear like our candy wrappers like in the mic. And sometimes I'm like, I can't cut this out. Like we're talking over it, you can hear it rattling. So I've just started putting little notes like, Chris, you won't stop eating candy or whatever. And it's We're like, whatever, this is funny, and if people don't like it because it's not professional, then
Yeah.
we're not professionals, so.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about it is
You're
we
not professional.
aren't professionals at all.
So we're like, oh, you know, it's funny.
Yeah, like to a certain extent, you have a lot of leeway to just let people appreciate the fact that you're not doing this
That you're
because
just-
getting paid, you're doing it because you want to.
Yeah.
They don't have, they can't expect
Yeah.
like utter perfection from you.
You could even make the dog like a character in your Let's Play, like some,
Yeah.
you know, like you could really lean into it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
if like the technology won't fix it for you.
But yeah, no, unfortunately when it comes to pets and everything like that, like for a while I had a cat and when she was really young, she would be meowing and running.
She still does this.
Little Kaluna. Yeah, and you know, like you just have to find times when, if there ever is a time to have it out of the house for a walk or something. And I know it's difficult that way, but that's just how it is. But we are unfortunately out of time.
Yeah.
It was wonderful for you guys to come to this panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And hopefully see you next year.
You can still talk to us after.
Yeah, we'll be out in the hall for a little while, so if you want to come up to us and ask us a bunch of questions, we're totally welcome to them.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.